Hello, I've just been talking with some people about advice about how to write a personal statement and a research proposal in terms of applying for a postgraduate degree, and what makes a good personal statement and a good research proposal. And I thought I'd take this opportunity while I'm thinking about it to do a video about how to make that step, how to present yourself as an attractive candidate for a position in a postgraduate degree. It was always dangerous to give career advice. I woke up yesterday to hear on the radio the Hollywood actor Reese Witherspoon giving advice, and she said, "Don't follow your dreams, follow your talents." And you can see the importance of that. She said we all have dreams, but that doesn't mean you have to follow them, and even if you follow them, they're not necessarily going to come true, but you need to match what you can do to the talents you have. Where she's wrong, I think, is that to assume that we were born or we have an innate talent necessarily. Talents are something that you can work on too. You can develop your talents in order to try to match your dreams. And I think it's important to have dreams, to aim high. But what we all definitely have is an individual history. We have experiences, we have the things that have inspired us, we have the things that we remember from when our parents talked to us, from when we first went to school, things that teachers have said to us, subjects we've loved, things that we've done, creations we've made. And the important thing about a personal statement is it has to be personal. It's digging into that network of connections. Sometimes we're not even aware of them. When we pick up chance contacts, books we happen to have read by accident, and later on when we look back at our careers we may see connections that we never knew about before, that authors that we've read in our childhood, that connect in some way with people we're meeting in later careers and so on. You can't always see those patterns. There's a lot of dumb luck about how those patterns happen. But if you're presenting yourself in a personal statement, you need to dig into those histories and to draw upon them, but above all to be specific. It's not enough, I think, to say, I'm passionate about education. Why am I passionate about education? What was it? Which incidents made me realise that education was important to me? I'm passionate about science. What was the moment when I realised that science offered some special way of learning about the world that other ways didn't? I'm passionate about poetry. Which piece of poetry first struck you as the most stirring piece of literature that you'd come across at that moment? It's being specific and being personal about drawing upon your own individual history. And that's the question, is to dig deep into one's history and to say, what is it that I have been prepared for? What is it that I have been preparing myself for over the years? What is it that I can do? I've seen things and I've heard things that nobody else has seen. How does that prepare me to make my own individual contribution to knowledge, to research, to education, to the way forward? So the most important thing about the personal statement is that it's personal. And having said that, making a personal statement, and it carries through into the research proposal. The research proposal is the thing that you've been preparing yourself to have a different perspective, a special perspective on. research proposal is a topic that you're passionate about. You're going to explain why you're interested in that area, what it means to you, why you're the person who can do that, study that topic better than other people. And it's all about standing out, presenting yourself personally. It's not to have a fully worked out proposal. If you're applying for a doctorate, you will have support to refine and improve that proposal. What you're trying to do is to show your own commitment to that topic and why it means something important to you. And that means that writing a personal statement and a research proposal takes effort. It takes time to do it properly, to be convincing. Takes effort, and not just time and effort, it takes emotional commitment. You're going to write, bare your soul, present yourself and say, here am I, I'm offering myself, choose me to do this, have this opportunity. And that's risky. That's like standing somewhere and saying, love me, I'm ready to be loved, here I am. And the second piece of advice I'm going to give you is it's not all about you. You have to understand that the decisions that admissions tutors and courses make partly about you. They're going to look at your proposal and they're going to say this person is the sort of person we're looking for. But when I was an admissions tutor and had to make these decisions, it's very clear that the decision came in two parts. One is this person, the first question I had to answer was, is this person committed? Does this person understand how much work, how much effort, how much commitment is going to be necessary to follow through 3 years of study? And they're going to convince me of that by showing they're passionate about it, that they have read something around the topic. They're passionate about it because they've got something in their background that links through and commits them to it. And they've understood that it's not just simple answers. There's going to be nuance, there's going to be complexity, there's going to be difficulty in understanding, there are going to be obstacles along the way, and they've got some kind of idea about what is involved in overcoming those obstacles. That's the first part of the decision, that's about the candidate. But the second part is, once I've got a good candidate, I then have to look around and say, who among my colleagues has the expertise and the time and the availability to supervise this student? I don't want to admit a student to the programme if there's going to be nobody to supervise them properly and they're going to be set up for failure. I don't want to admit a student who's going to be set up for failure. So it's not all about the candidate. Some of it's just dumb luck. The person who would have been ideal for supervising this student retired last year or the year before, or has just got a new job and moved. The person who's looking at the admissions process is also saying, have we got the resources to make this a successful project? And that's not necessarily within your ability to control that. You put yourself forward, you have to defend yourself and recognise that sometimes you just don't fit. Sometimes you wouldn't fit in with the team that they already have. And frankly, do you want to spend 3 years with a team that you don't quite fit in with? Probably not. So you're probably better off not getting accepted if you wouldn't fit in. And that happens across the board. If you're applying for jobs, if you're applying for scholarships, if you're applying for studentships, sometimes there's just not a match and you have to pick yourself up and push on and defend yourself. Keep your sense of self-esteem while you carry on pushing forward. Respond carefully to any criticism you might be offered. Respond carefully to any advice you might be given, but don't lose your own sense of yourself and your own sense of identity, because it's going to take effort. In the UK here, if you're applying for funded research, even if your research proposal is graded A+, you'll probably only get funded in 1 case out of 6. That's a success rate, a hit rate of 1 in 6. So you've got to be prepared for a number of knockbacks before you get exactly what you want or something close to it. So you've got to protect yourself, you've got to put yourself out there personally. I recognise that there's an emotional cost to that, but you have to do that and you have to keep going forwards. And one of the questions that I was asked was, is there a kind of formula or a structure? If you think there's a formula, if you think there's a structure that a personal statement or a research proposal has to have, then you've misunderstood what the process is. Think of this process from my side. Think of the process from the point of view of the admissions tutor. The admissions tutor has got 2 scholarships. They can fund 2 scholarships, and they've advertised for applications, and they've got 50 applicants. And what are they looking for? They've got 50 applications on their desk. They're looking for the people who stand out in a crowd. They're looking for the people who are different. People who are creative in the way they present themselves. This is not something that you can do by formula, and it's not, I have to say, something that can be done by artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence is designed. It's designed to make a statement that sounds more or less like everybody else. If you want to be noticed, you have to take the risk and put yourself out there and show that you are different. Present yourself in the full roundedness of your humanity, the way that what you've been and what you've done prepares you for this post, this position, better than anybody else. And after that, trust to luck, because a huge amount in developing a career in academia or anywhere else is about the good fortune of connections, the good fortune of having read the right thing at the right time, being able to remember who said what at just the right moment, even though it may not at the time have seemed to you significant or important. So that's what I'm going to say. And writing a research proposal for applying for a postgraduate degree, a research degree, you're not expected to have it all T's crossed and I's dotted. Whatever you write in your research proposal at that level, you're going to get guidance and you're going to get support, and you're going to be asked difficult questions. Don't imagine that because you get asked difficult questions, it's because you're in the wrong area or because you've not made a good proposal. It's because every proposal needs to be refined and focused and improved. Of course, it's different if you're applying for funding for research. Then the people who are funding the research will be looking for a very concrete plan of how you're going to do your research, how you're going to collect your data, which theories you're going to apply. Applying for a doctoral degree, you're not expected to have all of that fine-tuned. In fact, one of the things you need to be saying is you're going to be there to learn. If you're doing a postgraduate degree, you're there to learn. You're not expected to come in through the front door knowing everything you need to know to complete that degree. You're going to an educational institution. It's different if you're actually looking for funded research. But that question, I get half a dozen emails a week which say, "Dear Professor, I've looked at your work and it's wonderful," and there's absolutely nothing in that email that suggests that it's a personal approach to me. It suggests to me it's an approach that is blanket scattergun approach. This same email sent to 50 people, and I'm not impressed by that. I'm impressed more when somebody has obviously made the effort to connect with what I've done and to make it personalised. Personal means personal, and it means personal between you and personal between you and the opportunity that you're seeking to enter into. So think carefully about how you're going to demonstrate that you're the right person for this opportunity. And after that, all one can say is good luck, and I hope that you enjoy a fruitful journey into the future.